Hello and welcome back to AHS Countdown. I'm your host, Max Mesman, and I'm joined alongside co-hosts Cal Floyd, Fabiola Sanchez, and Taylor Gottney. Now today we got a big one, the biggest rivalry in the state, in fact, Auburn versus Opelika. Today's game marking the 97th time that these teams have ever played against each other. Opelika actually leads the series 47-46 with 3 ties in the series, but looking to change that is the number 1 team in 7A football and the number 1 team actually in the state for the last 3 consecutive weeks, your Auburn Tigers, who last year they beat Opelika on the road in a close one, 16-14. Now let's start off with the Bulldogs. They're currently sitting at 4-2 and are currently in a 3-way tie with Dothan and Central for second place in Region 2. But do not let the 2 losses fool you. This is a tough team. You might remember that just 3 weeks ago, they had upset the then number 1 team in 7A in Central at home in an overtime win by a score of 17-14. But ever since then, they have lost 2 consecutive games. One tough one on the road against Prattville. They lost in overtime. And then this past week, they lost on the road as well against Theodore. But that all being said, what are some things that Auburn should be worried about facing this Opelika team?
You know, say what you will about Opelika's offense, but in terms of their defense, they've been able to keep their opponents relatively low scoring, and Auburn specifically, with their games having a history of them scoring really, really high and it being a really high-scoring game for them, they should definitely watch out because Opelika's been really good about keeping the opponent's score down.
Opelika's offense has been looking really good as well. Their quarterback, number 16, he had 2 touchdowns last game, and their wide receiver, Miller, number 3, had 1 touchdown. That was pretty good.
Like Cal said, they hold their opponents really low scoring, and like Fabiola said, they look really good on offense, so I think it's going to be a really close game.
Yeah, and then if you're Opelika, you look across the street and you see Auburn, who, like I said, is the number 1 team in 7A as well as in the state for the 3rd consecutive week. And coming off of a 42-21 win over Ramsey, the Tigers will continue to look very sharp. What are some ways that this Auburn Tigers team will beat this Opelika rival?
Now, something Auburn was good at last game specifically was getting those turnovers. We actually got 3 forced turnovers that game, 1 being forced turnover on downs, as well as 2 interceptions, even including a pick 6 by our number 19, Octavian Brown.
For us, Clyde Pittman's last game, record-breaking performance, he included 2 passing touchdowns with no interceptions, the second one breaking the all-time career passing touchdown with 39, also his 9th passing touchdown of the season.
If you look at Auburn's margin, 221-77, it's a huge point margin, and just by looking at their matchups, just like blowouts, Lee, Jeff Davis, even Ramsey was a blowout, so I think if we can score a lot of points, just run away with it, we can win this game.
Yes, and not only is this a huge rivalry matchup, but it is also a huge in-region game for both teams, which you look at Auburn's side, if Auburn wins this game, they would not only be 5-0 in regional play, but they would also, with a win from Dothan away at Central, they would also be in a huge lead in the region as well. And then you look at Opelika's side, with a win today and a Central win against Dothan, they would be the outright leaders, for the time being at least, in the region. So, that being said, what are some things that Auburn needs to improve on from last week's 42-21 win against Ramsey that will be crucial for this game?
Right. Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but last show I mentioned something, and I think it was very specifically shown in last week's game, which was that Auburn tends to fall off defense-wise in the second half, which is exactly what they did against Ramsey last week. We were up 42-7, and then going into the second half, almost immediately they got 2 very quick touchdowns, so that went from 42-7 to 42-21, and we lost that. We had such a huge lead, and we lost about half of it very, very quickly. And I think just keeping that effort going throughout the whole game is going to be really, really important.
Yeah, and also Auburn had 3 turnovers last game, 2 interceptions by Davis Harson, and 1 turnover on downs. Just being more aggressive can really help. But also Auburn just needs to be less careless with the ball.
Yeah, some things like Cal and Fabiola said in the Ramsey game were the slow start in the second half and just not being super aggressive in the second half. And the first drive of Ramsey was amazing with that 40-plus yard touchdown pass. So we just got to come out with fire and keep playing with fire the whole game and just limit the dangerous Opelika run.
And with that, we move into our keys to the game. Now, both teams have different X factors that can help them take over not only any game, but this game right here. Now, what do you think those X factors are or will be in this game?
As we kind of mentioned earlier, Opelika's ability to kind of slow down the game, keep it low scoring like that is going to be really interesting matched up against Auburn, like I said, who specifically has a really high scoring season so far. So seeing that matchup in between like a slower paced game that Opelika's been used to this season matched up with Auburn is going to be really interesting.
With us having an elite running back group with Davion Williams, Tyler Flakes, and Jalen Griffin, as well as switching with Pittman and Harshan, they will be like really great with confusing Opelika's defense.
I really think what comes down to this game is our ability to run the ball. Like Fabiola said, that running back room is just elite. And I think it'll really confuse Opelika's defense when we have Davion the power back and then just put Tyler Flakes and Jalen in the speed backs, just kind of change the pace of tempo. And I think if we cause a lot of turnovers on defense, our corners and D-line has to play really great today.
Yes, and with that, we move into our player profiles where we each highlight one player, one on offense, one on defense, and one on special teams that we think will be crucial to the game. Now, who do y'all have as y'all's player profiles for this week?
I think for the defensive pick, we got number 19, Octavian Brown. He's a senior. He plays linebacker. He had that big pick six in the second quarter last game, and I think he's going to be really crucial in this next game.
For offense, I would say number 13, Clyde Pittman, our senior quarterback. He threw 2 touchdowns with 0 turnovers last game. The all-time leader in career passing touchdowns in Auburn high school history, and he'll continue to be great with giving us victories.
My player profile is number 33, Towns McGoo. He's a kicker. He's a junior. He's coming off that injury the past few games. He hasn't really been kicking for us, but last game we saw him do the kickoffs. He touched back almost every single time. He's just a really good kicker, and I think looking back at that game-winning field goal against Hoover, I think he can be really clutch for us in the stretch in this game.
And now we move into our last segment, which is the Friday night lineup, where we will all pick who we think is going to win tonight's biggest matchups all across the state. And we're going to start off with a matchup between two teams that really need a win. It's in Auburn's region, Region 2, and it's Lee Montgomery, who is currently 0-5 on the season and 0-3 in region play. And they're going away to face Jeff Davis, who is currently 1-4 and is also 0-3 in regional play. Who do y'all think is going to win this game?
I think, honestly, if you have to pick between the two of them, I think it's got to be Jeff Davis, as they've been able to get at least one win this season.
I'm also going to go with Jeff Davis just for that.
I think it'll be a good Montgomery matchup, but I think Lee Montgomery will come out with his first win today.
Yeah, and I'm going to say Jeff Davis. I think Lee Montgomery, it's not your year. I'm sorry, Lee Montgomery. It's just not your year. You're going 0-6. Jeff Davis also, they might get a couple other upsets the rest of the year, but this will probably be one of their last wins of the season or one of their last big wins. So I got Jeff Davis at home, and now we move into a pretty big matchup, or at least it has one big team in it. A Region 1 matchup between Foley, who is currently 2-3 on the season and 1-1 in Region 1 play, and they're going away to Fairhope, who is currently 5-0 and is the only other undefeated team in the state besides Auburn. They're currently 5-0 on the regular season and 2-0 in Region 1 play. Who do y'all got between Foley and Fairhope?
I think it still has to be Fairhope. I mean, undefeated doesn't get you all the way, but especially up against a 2-3 team specifically, I think Fairhope definitely has this.
For sure. I have to go Fairhope as well.
Like you said, the only other undefeated team, I think Fairhope comes out with a win.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with Fairhope as well. Foley, they're a decent squad. Their offense isn't too shabby, but they're not going to win on the road against Fairhope. Fairhope will be definitely a team to watch in the playoffs this year, and Fairhope gets the victory and moves to 6-0. And now we move to another Region 2 matchup. This time it's a little bit higher stakes than the Jeff Davis Lee game. It's Prattville, who is currently 3-2 on the season and 1-2 in regional play. And they're going away against Enterprise, who is currently 3-2 and 1-2 in regional play. Who do y'all got winning between Prattville and Enterprise?
This is a tough one. They have the same exact record, so I think I'm going to have to give it to Enterprise because maybe that home field advantage will just get them a little bit they need to win.
I'm going to go with Prattville. Yeah.
I think it's a big game in Enterprise. Auburn actually went Enterprise and only won by 10, so I'm going to take Enterprise in this one.
Okay, well, kind of split board here. I'm going to go with Prattville because I feel like Prattville coming off that win 2 weeks ago against Opelika, that was a big win for them. I think it really showed their mettle. And I think they're going to beat Enterprise on the road. It's going to be very close game. It's definitely going to be a one-score victory, but Prattville will eke it out on the road. And now we move into a very big matchup in Region 3. It's Hewitt-Trussville, who's currently 4-2 on the season and 2-1 in Region 3 play. They're going away against Thompson, who's usually the best team in the state, still pretty good this season. They are 4-2 on the season and 3-0 in Region 3 play. Who do y'all got between Hewitt-Trussville and the Warriors?
Personally, I think Thompson's got this. They haven't been on their A game this season, but I think historical precedent, I think they'll be able to pull this one through.
I'm also going to go with the Warriors.
Yeah, Thompson has had some tough losses, but still 3-0 in region play. And all-time dominant team, I'm going to have to go Thompson.
Yeah, Thompson, even though they have 2 losses on the season, they're still a team to look out for. And I think they're going to win this one. I think they're actually going to make a statement. I got them winning this one by at least double digits. So Thompson's going to win that one. And then we move into another Region 2 matchup, probably the second biggest game in the state, which behind Opelika and Auburn, of course. Central, who is currently 4-2 and just came off of a loss, nationally televised loss against IMG Academy. They are currently 4-2 on the season and 3-1 in regional play. They go away against the surprise team in Region 2, Dothan, who is currently 5-1 and 3-1 in regional play, with their only loss coming against your Auburn Tigers. Now, who do y'all got between Central and Dothan?
It's got to be Dothan for this one. If the only team they've lost against is an undefeated team, I think that shows a lot, and I think they'll be able to get this one.
I'm also going to go with Dothan for that.
I think this will be a really close game in Dothan. Central barely losing against Opelika and that tough loss against IMG. I'm going to have to go Central. I think they bounce back this week.
Yeah, I think Central is much better than those 2 losses say they are. And I think Dothan, their only loss was, like you said, Cal, to Auburn, but they did lose 42-14. So it wasn't a close game. And I feel like this is probably one of the biggest, it's probably one of the biggest Dothan home games in their recent history, being 5-1, which is the second best record in the conference, by the way, the region. And I think Central is going to get the win, though, on the road. I feel like Central is, like I said, they're better than we've seen, their 2 losses. They lost to IMG and a close one against Opelika. I think Central pulls it out in this one and gets ready for Auburn coming into town 2 weeks from now. And now we move into your game of the night, which is Opelika, who is currently 4-2 and 3-1 in the region, and they are coming to face your Auburn Tigers, your number 1 team in 7A. I'll say it again, number 1 team in 7A and number 1 team in the state for the 3rd consecutive week, who are currently 6-0 and 4-0 in region play. Who do y'all got between Opelika Bulldogs and the Auburn Tigers?
All things considered, I gotta say, I think Auburn has this. I don't think it'll be as big of a win as Auburn's had in the past, but I also don't think it's going to be extremely close, but I definitely think Auburn's going to be able to get this easy.
Of course I'm going to go with Auburn. That's our team. We got this.
I really think this will be closer than a lot of people think. Just in-town matchup, really close together. Opelika will come out really strong, but I think Auburn will prevail and win this game.
And with all that being said, this is going to be a huge matchup. A lot of emotion riding on this game, a rivalry game, and also not only regional status on the line, but also this is the first year that Opelika is in 7A. So already being this good in 7A is already a testament to their entire staff, their entire team. It's going to be a packed house at the Duck, and I think Auburn's going to win. I think it's going to be very close, though. I feel like with all the emotion, you saw last year's game, they had to win by a field goal. They won by 2, actually, at the end of the game on the road against Opelika last year. I think it'll be a very close game, but I think Auburn, in the end, takes home the victory and takes home a big regional lead. And that'll do it today for AHS Countdown. We hope y'all enjoyed, but don't go anywhere because coming up in a few minutes will be the AHS Band's pregame show as well as kickoff not too long after that. But from me and the rest of the crew here at AHS Countdown, we hope y'all enjoyed, and we hope to see you back here on AHS Mass Media next Wednesday when Auburn Volleyball takes on Prattville. But that'll do it, and we hope to see you here next time.